When we think of the most powerful corporations today, we think of massive tech giants and oil conglomerates. They control billions of dollars, dictate global supply chains, and influence international politics. But none of them can legally declare war, conquer vast empires, or execute citizens. Yet, 400 years ago, one single mega-corporation possessed all of those terrifying powers. The Honorable East India Company wasn't just a group of merchant traders chasing spices. At its peak, this business commanded a private military twice the size of the actual British Army. This is the shocking story of how a private board of directors built the world's most lethal corporate empire. The East India Company began in the year 1600 with a simple royal charter from Queen Elizabeth I. The Crown granted these London merchants a total monopoly on all British trade in the East Indies. But as the company sailed into the Indian Ocean, they realized they faced brutal international competition. To survive against the Dutch and Portuguese, the company needed more than just better sales pitches. They convinced the British Parliament to grant them unprecedented, sovereign state-like privileges. The company was legally authorized to mint their very own gold and silver currency. They established their own courts, passed their own laws, and governed foreign territories completely unchecked. But the most dangerous right they secured was the legal permission to wage war against non-Christian nations. What started as a standard trading venture had transformed into an armed corporate superstate. They were no longer just trading goods, they were actively preparing to conquer nations for a profit. To protect their vast warehouses and factories, the company began hiring their own private mercenaries. By the late 18th century, this security force exploded into a highly disciplined standing army. At its peak, the East India Company Army reached a jaw-dropping total of 260,000 men. To put that into perspective, that corporate force was double the size of the official British Army at the time. The company didn't rely on expensive British soldiers to fill out their massive ranks. Instead, they heavily recruited local Indian soldiers, who were known natively as sepoys. The company offered these men regular, guaranteed pay and cutting-edge European weapons. These sepoy regiments were trained by elite British officers and equipped with the finest artillery money could buy. This private corporate military was better funded and better equipped than most sovereign European nations. They weren't fighting for king, country, or glory, they were fighting entirely for a shareholder dividend. But an army alone wasn't enough to secure global dominance. The company needed to control the oceans. They created their own fully weaponized naval force, famously known as the Bombay Marine. These ships weren't clunky, slow cargo boats designed just to haul bags of tea. They were elite, custom-built warships bristling with heavy cannons on multiple decks. The Bombay Marine was tasked with hunting down fierce pirates along the treacherous trade routes. They mapped out unexplored coastlines and fought bloody naval battles against competing empires. By controlling the ports and the shipping lanes, the company established an absolute chokehold on global commerce. If a local ruler refused to trade with the corporation under their terms, the Navy would enforce it. They would blockade entire rivers and ports until the local government completely surrendered to corporate demands. It was the ultimate form of gunboat diplomacy, managed entirely by a board of directors in London. The true power of this corporate military was unleashed at the historic Battle of Plassey in 1757. A rogue company official named Robert Clive led a tiny force of just 3,000 corporate soldiers. They faced a massive allied army of over 50,000 troops led by the local Nawab of Bengal. On paper, the East India Company was outnumbered by an overwhelming margin of nearly 20 to 1. But Robert Clive didn't just rely on standard military tactics, he used corporate bribery. He secretly paid off the Nawab's top military commander, promising him the throne if he betrayed his master. When a massive monsoon storm rolled in, the company kept their gunpowder completely dry under heavy tarpaulins. The Nawab's army mistakenly assumed the company's artillery was ruined by the rain and charged forward. The company uncovered their dry cannons and opened a devastating, rapid-fire volley into the ranks. Combined with the pre-planned betrayal of the top commander, the Nawab's massive army collapsed in total panic. With this single victory, a private business had successfully conquered Bengal, the richest province in India. They immediately seized the entire state treasury, taking hundreds of millions of dollars in modern value. The corporation was no longer just paying taxes, they were now legally collecting them from millions of citizens. For the next century, the company operated as the absolute, unchecked ruler of the Indian subcontinent. But prioritizing short-term corporate profits over human life quickly led to staggering catastrophes. In 1770, a massive famine struck Bengal, decimating the local agricultural food crops. Instead of lowering taxes to help people survive, the company actually increased them to maintain profits. They forced local farmers to stop growing food and grow profitable opium and indigo instead. The resulting Great Bengal famine killed an estimated 10 million people due to corporate neglect. Tensions inside the company's massive military machine finally reached a violent boiling point in 1857. The company introduced a brand new rifle cartridge that required soldiers to bite off the greased paper casing. Rumors spread rapidly that the grease was made from a mixture of pig and cow fat. This deeply offended both Hindu and Muslim sepoys, who viewed it as a direct attack on their religions. The resulting Indian Rebellion of 1857 tore the entire country apart in a wave of extreme violence. The company's private army turned on its own British masters, nearly erasing corporate control overnight. The fighting was so brutal that the company was completely incapable of containing the widespread chaos. The British government was forced to step in with the official military to crush the uprising. Realizing a private business could no longer manage a nuclear-sized empire, the Crown took absolute action. In 1858, Queen Victoria officially dissolved the East India Company's ruling political powers. The corporate army and navy were immediately dismantled and absorbed directly into the British Crown. The era of the corporate army ended, but it remains a chilling warning about unchecked business power. Imagine if a modern tech giant decided to buy its own fleet of aircraft carriers today. Do you think a mega corporation will ever grow powerful enough to command its own military again? Let us know your absolute wildest theories in the comments section below. Make sure to drop a like if this video completely blew your mind today. And hit that subscribe button to explore more crazy world facts with us at the World Facts channel.